Hey guys, Jim Skelton here. Welcome back to the 5-Minute Watch Review. Here we're going to take more or less 5 minutes to discuss some of your favorite watches, give you some of the features and benefits, and help you make that buying decision, including the most important part, talking about the pricing and if it's really worth the price that we're seeing it for. Let's hop in right now and get started. Today we're going to be taking a look at the TW Steel CEO Tech David Coulthard Special Edition. Now, the only real difference between the David Coulthard edition and the standard CEO Tech is going to be the colors that were chosen here. It's basically just a bunch of different shades of gray. And that was actually what attracted me to it. I liked the finishing work that they did on this watch. This is actually a watch from my own personal collection that I purchased, I paid for, and I've had for just under 2 years now, and I've worn it quite a bit. I really enjoy this watch, and I wanted to share it with everybody, especially right now because it's a better value. Listen, they were MSRP of $925. Now, while I feel that the quality of the construction absolutely makes this watch worth that, it's still a quartz chronograph, and at $925 that could put you into a lot of three-hand automatics, a few automatic GMTs, maybe an automatic with a sub-dial seconds. You're not going to get an automatic chronograph for $900 usually. Maybe, you know, some kind of off-brand that's doing a special deal, but generally that's not the case. I like this watch especially because for whatever reason, even though there was a lot of hype that surrounded it, it didn't sell very well. And that means at some point they had to start backdooring them to a lot of different websites and sell them a lot more cheaply. You could buy this watch for around $250 to $300 depending on where you shop. So do your own research. I don't influence people on where to go buy stuff. I'm not sponsored by anybody. This is my own little project, and I'm not going to tell you where to buy something. So do your own research. Use Google. It's your friend. But take a good look at the details and the finishing. Let's start with the case. They call this case, I think they call it a 44 millimeter by their specifications. It's not. If you really measure diagonally 8 to 2 or 10 to 4, it's really a 48. If you measure just the bezel, that's a 44. Here's the funny thing. It wears like a 46, so it doesn't wear as big as the 48 that it really is, and it doesn't wear as small as the 44 that they claim. It really wears like a 46 millimeter case. The finishing on all the 316L stainless steel, they've done a really nice matte bead blasted non-reflective finish on the main case head. Then they've done a very dark gunmetal finish on the top side of the bezel. It's done in a matte bead blasted finish. On the sides, it's done a very, very, very high satin. It's almost a polish. Then you have the individual screws that appear to be functional screws. I can't tell you that. I've never taken it apart. And they're done matte bead blasted on the inset, and on the flats, you'll see that they're actually mirror polished. Nice job on the crown and pushers. The crown is matte finished with the polished gunmetal band around it. Polished gunmetal pushers, mirror finished, really, really nice. And then that same kind of treatment gets into the dial. Take a look at the three-dimensionality of that dial. Really nice, tall, applied numerals. They're done in a brushed finish. So everything is just different tones of gray. The dial is a dark gray, the subdials are a light gray. Then you have pops of red, which is David Coulthard's kind of signature colors with the gray and the red. The leather strap is really, really well made. Nicely tapered. As you see, it's fitted into the case really nicely. Very snug fit. The only problem is if you have a large wrist or you have a flat wrist, the strap does not open up to accommodate you, so you're going to kind of feel like you're wearing a cuff from here to here. So do keep that in mind. I have a 7.5-inch wrist. I feel that's about as big as I would recommend you going. If your wrist is 7.5 inches or smaller, this is going to be a great fit. If it's larger, that strap is going to be very, very restrictive, so keep that in mind. The movement inside is actually a really awesome movement. It's a Citizen Miyota movement. It's the 6S20. And what I like about this particular movement is, let's close the crown. You've got a fully functioning chronograph in here with your tenths of a second being ticked off at the 6 o'clock position. But here's what I really like about it. If I don't want to have a ticking second hand on my watch visible, I can stop that seconds hand. If I want to use that seconds hand, you see that it caught up and it's going to do its thing displaying the time that it was already internally keeping track of. Also, not only do I like the fact that it doesn't have a ticking second hand, it also, because you're stopping it, saves a little teeny tiny bit of the battery life. You've got a nice anti-reflective coating on the back side of the crystal. Really, it's honestly, it is a sexy, sweet-ass looking watch. Size restrictive, yes, but if you fit in that, oh my God. Let's put this on the wrist. Let's give you an idea how this thing feels. Now, David was a 13-time Formula One champion. Anybody that's really into racing hardcore already knows his name, so I don't really have to go into that. By the way, look at that. Look at the detail and the workmanship put just into the buckle. All right, so here's the look on the wrist. Like I said, it wears like a 46 millimeter. It looks a teeny tiny bit larger, and it actually really is a bit larger, but it's not cumbersome at all. Look at the design here. Look at all the different work. And there's a lot of companies that have made a similar case shape and a similar bezel. And listen, if you can't afford the Audemars, and who really can, that's a hell of a lot of money. There are a lot of companies that have borrowed parts of that design. I think that you look at this and go, I see the influence, but it's not a direct copy, and I appreciate that. It's another reason I went ahead and bought it. I don't like to buy stuff that's a direct copy of another watch. I've owned plenty of that stuff. A lot of that stuff was given to me. A lot of that stuff was promotional, and some stuff I did just like enough to buy on my own, but I got to that point where I said, you know what? I'm only going to pay my money for stuff that's original. And this may not be wholly original. It does have a borrowed design, but they've done enough to it to make it their own that it really does stand out. And it doesn't look or feel like a cheap $200, $300, $400 watch. When you pick up the watch and you feel the fit and finish, you put it on the wrist and feel it on the wrist, you really do get a sense that, yeah, this, legitimately could sell for $925. Remember, TW Steel is a big retail brand. They don't do a lot of internet discounting. So when you see a retail price on their stuff, it generally is going to be, well, actually not generally, it is going to be legitimate. So there you go, guys. There is a last look at that. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do subscribe. I love this watch. I think it's great. And there's still enough out there, even though it was a limited edition, that you can probably still snag one even right now. Well, there you have it. That took a little longer than you expected it to. Hopefully your wife says the same thing. Here's the deal. You click subscribe, you'll get all the notifications every time we upload a new video here at the 5-Minute Watch Review. And hopefully we're going to find the right watch for you and help you make that buying decision. Thanks for watching.